All right. Hey, everyone. I'm back. I streamed earlier today, the market open. Some of you may have seen it. Let me see. I got here. UTXO. Here he is. He saw it. James, how are you? All right. Yeah, no problem. So the Trade Scanner Pro session, the Trade Scanner Pro portion of the stream was conducted at the open. So if you want to see how that went, you can watch it on my YouTube channel. I had 3 trades. 2 were losing trades. Right, 2 stopped out. The third one was break even, basically. It was green at one point, but then I closed it because it turned around, and it's a good thing I closed it. But anyway, yeah. So it wasn't a very good session, but we're gonna review that a bit, here in this stream as well. So in this stream, I'm not going to do the Trade Scanner Pro because I'm going to do it earlier, during the market open, because today is my second stream, right? So we have, so the next time I do my market open stream would be Wednesday. I'm doing it every other day right now. So, and if you're new to the stream, welcome. Hey, Hussein, thanks for watching. Do me a favor, press the like button. That helps spread the stream around the algorithm, right? So more people can see it and all that kind of stuff. All right. So I appreciate that. Anyway, I forgot something here. Hold on a second. Let me see if I can do this real quick. I don't know if I'm going to be able to do this. I'm going to try. Hold on. Let's see. Let's see if I could do this without causing trouble. All right. You guys should be able to see my my little ad there. I got to keep that on. That's what I have to do. All right. So I don't have to do like that whole part where I talk about it and this and that, whatever. People could just click on that, or they could just go to that link. All right. Anyway. Also, if you want to share what city or what country you're from, that's always a fun fact. I am streaming from the greater New York City area, also known as northern New Jersey. Okay, it's a little warmer here today. Anyway, all right, so in this stream, we're going to talk about Bitcoin. And we're going to talk about the NASDAQ specifically. And we're going to review, what's that? I think we can easily close 84.5. Okay. On the 1 minute. Oh, all right. Well, we're not talking about that here on this time. On this stream, I'm looking at bigger picture, right? We're not looking at 1 minute charts here. We're going to be looking at, the daily chart, 4-hour chart, that type of thing. First thing I'm going to do is talk about the economic calendar real quick, like I do every Monday, and then we're going to talk about the Bitcoin analysis. So if you want to kind of get a head start, you could read my analysis that I wrote on TradingView. I publish an analysis every Sunday, and then I kind of review the outcome of that here in this stream. But we're also going to talk about the NASDAQ since I day trade the NASDAQ on the market open stream. All right, now, hey, Nugs, good to see you guys. Milad, how are you? No, well, actually, Milad, they're having a paid one in 2 weeks. It's like $50, and it's like they're having it at the Hudson Yards or whatever. But it's like in the middle of the day. It's like at 12 p.m. So it's like a special event. That's the only thing I saw on the calendar. But anyway, I'm thinking about going to that, but I'm not sure. But I wouldn't expect you guys to go to that. That one, it's you got to pay for it, and it's like in the middle of the day. It's unusual. Anyway, all right. So let's talk about that economic calendar real quick first. So first thing we have is tomorrow. Actually, it's tonight. It's Bank of Australia. They have their interest rate announcement. That's usually not a major dollar mover. So if you trade Forex pairs, any Aussie pairs, it might have an effect, but it's usually not a big deal. Tomorrow we have, what is it? I know we have a ISM manufacturing. I believe it's ISM manufacturing PMI tomorrow, or is that Wednesday? I'm not sure. I don't remember. It's not the most important number. We have something tomorrow. There was some report coming. Oh, no, I'm sorry. I got it. Hold on. Tomorrow is President Lagarde from the ECB having a press conference or having a speech. That's probably around 3 a.m. Eastern time. You want to double check. Again, if you trade the euro or a euro cross, that may have an effect. But usually, that's not a big market mover. Now, on Wednesday, we have ISM manufacturing PMI. I believe that's a 10 a.m. number, but double check the timestamp. that could move markets a bit if there are any surprises, but that's usually not a heavy weight. All right, but just keep it in mind that's scheduled for Wednesday. I believe that's the only one on Wednesday. There was something else too on Wednesday. I can't remember, but it wasn't that important. On Thursday, we have the ISM Services PMI along with the ADP employment report. I believe that's on Thursday, the ADP report. All right. ADP is sort of like a preliminary non-farm payrolls, or maybe that was the one on Wednesday. I know it's a little confusing. Just check the economic calendar. These are not major numbers. I'm just mentioning them because they're more important than usually nothing, compared to nothing. And then, of course, on Friday, which is the first Friday of the month, we have non-farm payrolls. Now, that is a big market moving number. It's the first Friday of every month, and that number is at 8:30 a.m. Eastern time. And if there are any surprises there, you get big moves in the market. Okay. In fact, a lot of people use events like that to beat prop firm evaluations. And prop firms are aware of that. And that's why they put certain rules in place so that you can't play the typical, let's play the FOMC or let's play the NFP game and then beat the evaluation in one day. They don't want you doing it. Anyway, because you get such a big move, you could reach your profit objective for the evaluation literally in a minute, right? And they don't want that. They don't want you to win. So anyway, just wanted to mention that volume going into something like non-farm payrolls, like on Thursday, for example, could get low. Price action get erratic. People don't want to go take major positions going into such a heavy report because who knows how it's going to affect the market. I mean, we had what was it, Michigan consumer sentiment on Friday, and the market sold off the entire day off of a report. Like, that's not usually like a major report, right? So anyway, just wanted to mention that. So that's the economic calendar. Now, let's get into Bitcoin here. So I wrote my analysis yesterday. All right, let me make this chart bigger. And it's based on this chart that you see here. This is my daily chart. And in that analysis, I talked about the bear flag. That's what these two parallel lines represent. Now, the bear flag was activated the week before, which I wrote about in that analysis as well. I said we have a bear flag that's present, but it's not active. It has to break the lower trend line. It broke the lower trend line, and now it's active, right? Okay, so that was a warning. You could have played this. When I wrote that analysis, we were over here. That was from 2 weeks ago. All right, or not yesterday, but a week before. Okay, and I talked about the potential bullish move up to this high, which was the 88K area. I specifically talked about it, and that would have been something ideal for day trades or maybe brief swing trades. But then I talked about the possibility of the bear flag asserting itself right before we reach 90K, which is this resistance up in here. So the 88K established itself as a lower high. We broke the bear flag, and now we have this bearish situation that is in play right now. So going through this week, I drew this arrow and I drew this rectangle over here. Right? I drew this yesterday, and I've said this is a potential support area for day trades. And here we are. We found support there. And we have this, first we had this inside bar, and now we have this green bar developing, right? So this, if you read the analysis, you should be prepared for these things. I'm not always right, but this one worked out pretty nice. Now let me move it over here so you can see it better. Alex from Romania, how are you? I need this today, and I really liked it. Oh, I read. Oh, cool. Appreciate it. Alex from Romania. I just like saying that. Romania. I love Romania. So anyway, so again, this is how you use my analysis because I talk about multiple perspectives. I don't just talk about one absolute perspective. The market is messy. The market's going to do multiple things. As a trader or investor, we're typically waiting for something to play out, a setup to occur, something that lines up with our thesis. And then we look for confirmation. And this could be on either side, right? So it's important to understand that. Oh, you're from Belarus. Oh, nice. Okay, cool. Wizard. Yeah, I'm a wizard. Trading View wizard. I thought that title would like get me somewhere. Man, I mean, I appreciate that they gave it to me, but still, you would think like at least I'd get girls or something. Man, I get nothing. So anyway, um, so what we have here, right? This support level was something that could have been anticipated. Now, of course, you would go to smaller time frames and look for your confirmations. Now, going forward for this week, what can we expect from here? Well, the support is now in play, but where this goes, who knows, right? So one possibility is maybe we get the continuation, right, and we get some sort of bounce. But I would watch this lower trend line as another resistance level. In fact, you have some things lining up right here. Okay, see that? So that's the low of 85, 850 area. This may present some shorting opportunities for day trades in that area. So you have to watch and see if price for one can make it up there. And if it can, that's where we're looking for potential day trades on the short side. Now, also, if price can get up there and close weak, meaning you get like a pin bar on the daily time frame or something like that, that can give you a swing trade setup. All right, so it would look kind of like this. Here, let me draw that out. Man, I only have 15 people on here. Oh man, you gotta like tell your friends, or if you're watching on Twitter, like share this on Twitter or something. Come on, man. 15 people, press the like button, or please do something. Help me out a little bit. All right, now I appreciate all of you are here, but man, you know, you know what I mean. I've been doing this stream at this time for years. But I know it's not enough. I get it. I understand. Anyway, I'm working on it. So my point here with this analysis is if we get a bearish pin bar in this area let me make this one bigger. So we can, so it looks like a pin bar, right? Sort of a pin bar like that in this area, that may set up for a nice swing trade short. Okay. And you would be looking at a price profit objectives of this low right there. And it may go lower because this would actually, in that scenario, this would be a double top up here. And that double top would occur right below a pretty significant resistance area. So that's one scenario to watch for that may unfold. Again, we don't know the future. I don't know if it's going to happen. The whole point is if it happens, you're prepared. You know if you're wrong, what you should do, right? Obviously, stops would have to go above that high, because if this thing is going to reverse at a double top in this area, then price really shouldn't be poking up into here. It shouldn't be. So you should be out, right? Make sense? And profit objective wise, this old support would be your first objective. But since this generally would be a lower high, if that was established, then a lower low would be likely. So that's where profit potential could be measured by, the 76K support. We may retest that level, this level here, okay? And that's where I drew this illustration. So let's talk about this illustration. All right, so you understand that scenario? Well, I mean, it's the market. If I weigh 400 pounds, do I count for three people? Possibly. You might. Okay. I mean, if you think about it, it's by three, what is that? 15, 30, 40, yeah, about 150 pounds each. 140 pounds. You'd be three small people. Okay. Anyway, you threw me off, man. What was I talking about here? No, so you mentioned here. It's hard for me to see the chat, but this guy here, he says, hopefully there won't be a double top, right? Castanica. I don't know. Hopefully I pronounced your name right. Anyway, now you can't really say that, hopefully, because the market is the market. So, I mean, you could hope for one side, but the market is the market, and it's going to do whatever it wants to do. So that's why it's best to just have an open mind and just be like, hey, I go with the market. Whatever the market chooses, that's the side I want to work on. Now, there are situations where obviously where the market transitions and the side that it favors becomes confusing. And that's the situation we had earlier today with the NASDAQ, which we're going to talk about after I finish my Bitcoin analysis here. Okay, so maybe we get the double top, maybe we don't. Maybe we blow through. It's up to the market. All right, just a point. I know I'm not picking on you. It's just a point that I wanted to make, right? Because people go into this with a bias, and they're like, "Oh yeah, it's going to do this. It's going to." You can't. You have to think with an open mind. The market does whatever it wants. People get all caught up with this news and all this nonsense and all this garbage on Twitter and the news. People overreact. I mean, it's ridiculous, but that's human nature, right? And they don't realize that what they like to do is they like to connect an event that they read about or that they see to the action in the market. That event may have been the catalyst, but the thing is, the market had to get to that location first, right? So my point is the market's going to do what it's going to do regardless of the news. So don't get confused by that. This is why, and I said it earlier, I only focus on trend and support and resistance levels. That is all the information I need. I pay attention to no news at all. I had that trade on Friday, which I wasn't able to capitalize fully on, but I got short because of the Trade Scanner Pro. The market sold off because of Michigan consumer sentiment. Now, when it sold off, I had no idea that it was because of Michigan consumer sentiment. But you know what? I was still on the right side of the market. So, and I have no clue what was going on with the news. News doesn't help you. It's just an illusion. And like I was saying earlier, the reason why this game is so hard is because of the misinformation that we're constantly reacting to or thinking we have valuable information when we don't. So that's why I rely on trend and support and resistance levels. That's the most reliable information I can find. And people they overlook it because it's not enough. Like, it's on a chart. That's no good. I need real information. That is real information. Anyway, all right, enough of those rants. All right, so you get the bearish scenario, right? Now let's talk about the potential bullish one. I mean, sure, we could form the higher low that we're forming here and break out. That's possible. But remember, we're fighting a major resistance up here. This is a pretty significant resistance in this 90K area. If we can't clear that, then this thing is likely to test the low again, right? The fact that we have a lower high right here is very bearish. And we're more likely, probability favors a test of low or even a lower low. That is what the structure favors. It doesn't mean it will happen, but that is the probability. That's the side that the probability favors. So there's probably a greater chance that we test that low because of this structure. Until that structure is compromised, that is the belief that I am going to go with, right? Now, so what can happen here is this support that we're fooling around with right now may break. We may get like a little mini lower high right here, okay? We may get like these little two continuation candles. Let me make this nice and big. Let me move it away from my big head so you can see what's going on. All right, so we have an inside bar followed by this doji situation. Well, it's not a doji, it's more of like a spinning top situation right here. See that? That area right there could turn in, if that closes like that and the next candle opens and breaks the low, then this is nothing more than a continuation pattern. And if that's the case, then we're on our way to 76K. And that can happen over the next few days, especially going into non-farm payrolls. Non-farm payrolls may even be the catalyst because remember, this thing is pretty closely connected to the NASDAQ. So, when the NASDAQ sold off on Friday, Bitcoin also sold off on Friday. Not as badly, but it sold off. I mean, it came off from like 88, whatever, but it never went to new lows. While the NASDAQ went to new lows, right? So anyway, the point is this thing can follow this illustration that I drew here yesterday, where we basically continue to test the 76K low, 78 to 76K low. Now, that's another location to anticipate a reversal, a bullish reversal. So this could be a double bottom that develops here, very possible. Now, why would I even give that double bottom any weight in light of such a bearish environment? Well, remember, I'm always keeping an eye on the big picture, right? I'm zooming out here. This is the big picture. And in that big picture, this bearish structure that we've had for these previous few months is just a pullback. This is not a long-term bearish trend. This is just a pullback. And if this is a wave 4 pullback, that wave 4 bottom may establish itself sometime very soon. And that bottom may be 76K. If that's a wave 4 bottom and that gets established like that, that's a place where you really would like to be long, not short. Now, a lot of frauds and fake gurus and stuff who don't have this perspective, they're all calling for shorts. Oh, this thing's going to zero. Right. Pay attention to the chart, not these people. So that's a big argument that I'm looking at. As long as we stay above 65K, this could be a wave 4 bottom area developing. And not only is that great for swing trades, that's also an investment area. That's also a good place to accumulate some coins for the long term, right? Because if that happens to be the wave 4 low, then we're looking at wave 5 developing over the next few months. And wave 5, if that's the case, again, don't know if it's going to do it, but if it goes there, we're looking at breaking above the previous peak, which is this, okay, the 109. So that something like that's not going to happen overnight. But if wave 4 holds, then wave 5 is likely. That's how wave counts help us. And in order for a wave 5 to be confirmed as a wave 5, the structure needs to make a higher high. Making a higher high means going above 109. Does that make sense, you guys? I'm going to press this button over here. For those of you that are maybe just joining in, do me a favor and press that like button so I get some people watching. I don't know why these numbers are really low. Actually, maybe this is not accounting for my Twitter. Let me see something here. Oh, okay. I could see what's going on here now. Interesting. So I only got 6 people on YouTube, man. Come on, you guys. 6 people. All 6 of you, please press the like button. All right, please do me a favor. I know I'm yelling at you guys today, but come on, man. I don't know why I do this. All right, so you guys got me on Bitcoin? You guys understand what I'm talking about here? So there may be an investment opportunity. Maybe it's my voice. Maybe that's what's scaring everyone away today. There may be an investment opportunity coming up at 76K. Now, if 76K is broken, then we're looking at 73K. That's a possibility as well. But I think it's a lower possibility because of the generally broad bullish situation, and we have a possible double bottom location here. So I believe there's a better chance that we hold and find support there. But if we don't, we're looking at 73K, right? 73 to 70K. It can happen. So you have to be prepared for that. Now, as an investor, you can be dollar cost averaging into this. You can even step in front of it with small positions, right? Maybe you take a small bite at, you put your order in advance. Maybe you put one here at like 83 half. Maybe you put one at 80 half. Maybe you put one at 78 half. And every time it's tapping into those levels, you're getting better and better prices, right? But you have to be careful with that, and you don't want to use leverage because you can over leverage very easily. All right, I'm not going to get into all those details right now. We'll talk about that as we go along with the stream here. Now, you guys have any questions about Bitcoin? Because those are the scenarios I'm looking at. So as far as swing trades go, again, possible long around the 76K area, right? This low area right here, 76, 78, around there, waiting for confirmation. That confirmation can come on a 4-hour chart or a daily chart for swing trades. Don't be using a 5-minute chart for that. That's not a swing trade. Is that clear? If you're trying to take this area long right here, this is for day trades, the current location, because this is not a major support. It can break. So if you're taking small bites here, that's appropriate. This is where the Trade Scanner Pro can be very useful because it's showing you the risk and the profit objectives for that particular time frame that you're working on. Obviously, if you're a day trader, you're working on smaller time frames. If you're a swing trader, you're working on larger time frames, like 1 hour, 4 hour, or above. Make sense? And if we make it back up to this resistance area, this is the place to be taking profits or possible shorts. If you're trying to work that possible swing trade short. All right. So that's a Bitcoin. Excuse me. That's the Bitcoin situation. Let me know if you have any questions about that. Now let's move along here, and I want to take a look at. We're going to look at the NASDAQ real quick. All right. So we'll start with the NQ1. These are the NASDAQ futures, right? This is what I trade during the market open with the Trade Scanner Pro Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. So if you want to see me do it, Wednesday is the next time I do it, right? At 9:30. That's when I'm supposed to be doing it. Now, what's happening here? This is the type of situation that I'm anticipating for Bitcoin. Look, what is that? Bullish pin bar. Beautiful. Where is that happening? Off the previous low. Look at that. This is bullish, at least for a swing trade. It's a possible double bottom. It's a pin bar reversal on a daily time frame. Now, when I was messing with this thing earlier, like I said, the trend was changing, and I was shorting. So, I was shorting the previous day's lows, which was the resistance, and it broke through that resistance basically. And this is what happened. The market was transitioning. So at the very beginning of that stream, I said to everyone, you can go back and watch it. I said to everyone, this is a high probability reversal area, and I will be going into day trades shorting it. So that was a risky thing to do. Now, should I have done that again? Or would I have, if I had stuck to the idea of possible reversal, would I have changed anything? Well, of course, we could say after the fact, I could say anything, right? But here's the thing. Knowing that I'm in a high probability transition area, like this, here, I'll highlight the area. This was a high probability transitional area, which I specifically mentioned in my stream, right? Knowing that, I could basically say, all right, look, let's see if we get the reversal, or let's see if we get a transitional type of market. And perhaps I could have waited for long setups instead of taking shorts. That's one possibility. Okay. Or try to short, but if the short just completely failed, I had two shorts completely fail. But if I had one short completely fail, it's okay. I tried one on the short side. Let's see if this market gives us a more bullish look. Eventually, the bullish look came along. But does that make sense? So there's a pattern here. This is a daily time frame. It carries a lot of weight. Now, so this means we may get a bullish move as the week unfolds. Right? If we break this pin bar high tomorrow, when we do something like this, that would be a reversal pattern. And then maybe we get something like this as the week unfolds. Very possible. Also very helpful for my day trades, because this is the roadmap. This is a possible roadmap. So on Wednesday, perhaps we're going to be in a more bullish environment, and that will all be stemming from the pin bar. Does that make sense? So it kind of helps me form some expectations as the week unfolds. Now, of course, we can also get the failed the failed reversal, meaning tomorrow's candle looks like that. That's also very possible. Now, we don't have any heavy news until basically, Friday is the biggest news item, but we don't really have anything heavy until Wednesday, right? The ISM manufacturing, which can have an effect. Maybe it causes something like this. I don't know. But even if it does, I have a reference area for a support, which is the pin bar low. And that pin bar low is going to be the reference for the entire week if we don't break it. So that location might be a good place for bullish reversals, where I can go into counter trend mode. That makes sense? So you see how I'm forming the ideas. I'm forming the plans by just doing some forecasting and looking at some potential scenarios. So if I see the scenario developing intraday or at the market open, I have some perspective, and I know how to adjust to that. So I know, for example, I should not be shorting this level here. If we're retesting that level, it's probably a bad idea to short the pin bar low. It's a low probability trade. So I shouldn't do that, right? Even if my 1 minute says, short, blah, 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 oscillator, RSI short, whatever. Even if you get all that, it's a very risky short, and it could reverse in your face very easily. We have to look at this game in terms of probabilities, not what we see on the chart. We have to think about what we can't see. And that's where the probabilities come in, right? So shorting this low would be a low probability. I want to buy that low, but I want to wait for confirmation. So again, the Trade Scanner Pro can help me with that. Now, let's go to a 4-hour time frame. And this is the situation that's occurred. These blue areas on the chart this is pre-market, okay? These blue columns, that's pre-market. And the white columns, that's the market. That's the regular market hours for the NASDAQ, okay? Following me so far? Oh, wait, hold on. I'm getting a whole bunch of chats here and I can't see them. Hey, Kai, how's it going? I would lower that usual viewer numbers. Oh, okay. I hope you are. Yeah, cool. Appreciate that, Kai. I haven't seen you in a while. Yeah, that could be people lose interest, they get beat up. But the thing is, Kai, you want to know something? I watch other fake gurus, all right? And some of them get some enormous streaming numbers. I mean, enormous, like 100 times what I get. And I'm like, so, but they have a big following. They've been established. They've been around for a long time. But still, could be a cute girl. But still, I should at least be doing 100 people, man. So I can't blame the environment. I have to blame myself. Can you take a look at Ethereum? All right, yeah. All right, I'll take a look at Ethereum. Here's the thing. I need real information. Ethereum is going to be very similar to Bitcoin. Just so you know, all the altcoins, everything that I said about Bitcoin is going to apply to Ethereum, but we'll take a quick look at it. I agree with you about relying on the chart. Right. Okay, man, that was from, hey, Sean, how's it going? I'm just catching up on the stream here. I missed all this because my thing wasn't scrolling. Oh, yeah. All right. No problem. No, press the like button only once. I appreciate it, UTXO. I can't press twice. Okay. Hold on. I'm just trying to read the chat. All right. Sorry. Savi, how are you? From Brooklyn. It's also Liberation Day when we may find out, more about tariffs. They might be huge. Right. Right. Okay, I'm caught up on the chat. Right. So there's also surprise news, right? That's not on the schedule. It just comes out of nowhere, and that could move markets out of nowhere too. That could move Bitcoin. That can move a lot of things very quickly, and it can be very like, why is this thing moving? So that's one of the drawbacks of me not being aware of news, because if some kind of surprise comes out, I'm usually thrown off. But hey, whatever, man. You know, I just get stopped out, and that's that. But no, thanks for pointing that out, UTXO. So anyway, now look at this NASDAQ. I mean, this is the 4-hour chart. We have about 20 minutes before the market closes. This is bullish. Look at that. Look at this candle. That's pretty solid, right? If I was going to day trade the NASDAQ now, I would be looking for longs. I wouldn't be shorting this. Now, we have a resistance right there, okay? So if I was going to short it, that would be the first place that I should be thinking about it, right here, not where it is right now. Something like this, where we are right now, we can argue is sort of in the middle of the range, right? So we could say this resistance is the top of the range. We could say this bottom over here is the bottom of the range, right? Like we could say that this is the bottom, which was established earlier today. And we could say that this is the top. It's an old support, okay? We are not touching this level yet. So I would be looking for longs if we were playing that game. Does that make sense? Now, so real quick, let's go to our 1-minute chart, and let's just for learning purposes, let's turn on the Trade Scanner Pro. I'm not going to take any trades. And let's turn these things on. All right, it's in trend mode. Look at this. Look at the trades. This is the 1 minute chart. Look at the trades. Look, long back here, right? Look, long. Some of these are losing trades, but that's not. This is a winner. Okay, this one. Let's see. Is this one report? This one was a profit too, of only 48 points. 48 points is not bad on the NASDAQ. Look at this one, long. Okay, look at this one, long. So it pays to wait. Like when we're expecting a transition, let me show you where I was involved. This is where I was involved right here. I took this short, and there was a 30-second short that I took. In fact, I was short on this move right here. If you guys watch the stream, so I'm not making this up. I was short right here, right? And it turned, this was the third trade that I took. It's not on this chart because I believe that was a 30-second trade, 30-second chart, I believe. Oh no, it was the 1 minute. Oh, actually, you know what I think it was? It might have been this trade here. Let me see. There was a trade that was open, and I took the trade after it was open on the 1 minute, and it turned into this. That's what happened. It may have been this trade here. And I had an opportunity to take some profit, but it wasn't at the objective, and I was still anticipating shorts, right? And I held on, and then this move here went back to my trailing stop, and I got out basically for like a break-even trade. That was my third trade. But I took two trades earlier in this area on the 30-second chart, which were shorts, and both got stopped out. Okay? But look how the market transitioned. Earlier, I said we were in a location where a transition was likely. Look where we transitioned. And once we got here, I turned off the stream. I was done, right? I was not going to trade anymore. And look how long it took before a new trade eventually developed on the long side, on the 1 minute. So just to kind of give you some perspective, that was 124 minutes. So that was 2 hours that I would have had to have waited for a new trade to eventually develop on the 1 minute. You see how that works? So that's why it's important to kind of do like a quick recap and review when using something like the Trade Scanner Pro, because again, this can help you gain some more experience and be more prepared for these situations, right? So we're going to do this again on Wednesday at the open and see if we could put a decent trade together. All right. Now, you guys following me on that? All right. Any questions? So our NASDAQ, so basically the conclusion here is the NASDAQ is now reversing. And I would expect the next couple of days to be at least on the bullish side, an attempt at least, okay? Until non-farm payrolls. Who knows? But this is a good start. And we're bouncing off of a notable area. Now, you guys clear on that? Now, let me talk about something else here. So on the title of my stream, I said I was going to talk about my investment plan. I want to highlight something. I'm going to go to the Qs. That's not it. Now, here are the Qs, right? Q. And I'm going to go to the daily time frame because there is an investing opportunity here, and I want to mention it because this is something I'm actually involved in. So we had, we had this break of support a few weeks ago, and the market got hammered, and everyone was like, "Oh, tariff this, tariff that, nonsense, blah blah blah," right? And eventually, we found a low. That low was put in around 466, right? That's this area right here. We bounced off that low 30 points, basically up to this 495 area, right? 494 and a half, 495. Look where we are now, just like that Bitcoin situation. Look familiar, right? Pin bar. I'm sorry. Well, the Qs in the NASDAQ are going to look exactly the same. But this is when I said Bitcoin, this is what I want to see out of Bitcoin, something like this. So in this situation, I've actually accumulated some shares. All right. I put the orders in on Friday. I'm mentioning it now, but I put the orders in during this candle, that really bearish candle. And I own some Qs from 469 and 465. Those are the prices that I got, right? and I managed to accumulate 30 shares in that period. Now today we went and we opened low. What's today's low? 457. Right? That's pretty low. But right now we're at 468. So this would have been a beautiful time to pick up some more shares. Now I missed, of course, I missed some of those good prices because I was too busy today. But this would be a situation where if you're placing limit orders, and again, when I say I'm accumulating shares, I'm taking small bites, 10 shares at a time. Like that's not a lot. That's not a lot. Of course, you have to be able to afford it, and you should not over leverage. You have to be responsible. Now, the Qs are the Qs. It's the NASDAQ 100, top 100 tech stocks. The Qs are probably not going to zero. I have no problem dollar cost averaging into the Qs, right? Even if we go to 450, like this probably shook a lot of people out. This probably hammered a lot of people, all right, especially that got long up here, right? Now, these are good accumulation prices for a short-term investment, or I guess you could say swing trade. My goal is to accumulate 100 shares, right? So maybe tomorrow I'll be able to accumulate the rest of it. Maybe we pull back a bit. We're at 468. Perhaps I can buy more at 465, maybe 460. But again, the goal is to accumulate 100 shares, whether the market goes a little lower or starts working its way higher. Why 100 shares? Because once I accumulate 100 shares, I'll have an average price, and then I can sell a call against it. And I could make premiums on that call. It's a covered call. So I know this is more advanced. I normally don't talk about this kind of stuff. If you don't understand options, you're not going to understand a word I'm saying. But the thing is, a covered call, you can Google it. There's all kinds of information out there. It's a nice way to enhance your returns. I mean, again, I don't mind if the Qs go lower. I don't like have a stop loss on this because what are the Qs going to do? Go to 400? I mean, they're not going to go a whole lot lower. I mean, look, I could be wrong. They may go lower. You have to have some sort of responsible risk management system in place. I have no problem if these things go to 450 or below 450. I don't have a huge position. If I had a huge position, then I might be a little more uncomfortable about it, right? But I don't. So I'm very happy to buy more. And you guys can play this game with the altcoins. We've talked about this all, numerous times. The point is, I want 100 shares because once I have 100 shares and then price gets above my average price, I can sell a call. And the thing is, I want to sell an at the money call where I can collect an extra $200 or $300. And I hope that they I hope they take the stock away from me. And so I sell at a profit, right? As long as I'm above my average price. So let's say my average price is 460, right? By the time this thing is done going lower, let's just say. Or let's say I have to buy it higher and my average price is 470 and I sell a 474 call. Now these calls that I sell, Sean, if you're here, you may appreciate this. These calls that I sell are same day. They're zero day calls, meaning there's no they're pure time value, right? So if I can sell an at the money call same day and the market goes above that price, they take my stock away, but I keep the premium. So it's a nice way to make a little extra money doing nothing. They're basically paying me for me to sell my stock at a profitable price anyway. And if the stock doesn't close above my call price, it closes below it, right? Because maybe it pulls back a bit, I still keep the premium. And then tomorrow I do it again. And eventually they'll take the stock away. Now I want to do it at prices, of course, that are profitable for me. So we'll see where we are tomorrow with this, but I just wanted to let you know that's like my short-term investment plan. We could potentially get back up to the 495 area, right? If we get a double bottom here, now there's all kinds of potential movement either way, because again, UTXO was mentioning the tariff situation. Everyone goes nuts with that tariff stuff, and maybe the Qs get beat up again a little bit. Hey, no problem. I'll be very happy to buy some more. 10, 20 more shares. Again, I want to accumulate 100 shares at an average price. At some point, like if we get into an unusual situation and the Qs go to like 400, of course, I'm not going to keep putting on more and more and more and more and more. At some point, I have to stop, right? So that stopping point, for one, is first after I accumulate 100 shares, that's it. I'm all in. I'm not going to accumulate more than that. So if it keeps going lower and lower and lower, well, I'm just going to have to sit on it, right? That's a risk that I take. And you say, well, why don't you use a stop? Because the stop is not part of this strategy. This is more of an investment strategy, not a day trade strategy. Do you see how that works? You should explain all the option Greeks. I don't have to. Just Google it. There's 10 million guys explaining that stuff. But I know I probably should, and maybe more people will subscribe to my stream. But that's the idea. That's the idea behind my Q's investment, because I suspect that this could be. You realize this could be the low for the year, possibly, or maybe we go lower. Slightly lower. But this bullish pin bar in this configuration is pretty bullish, in my opinion. And the NASDAQ is not exactly bearish. If we go back to the weekly chart, it's just a nasty pullback. Look, does that look bearish to you? That's not exactly bearish. Now, it may become bearish, but if I'm going to take any chances on the long side, this is the place where I'm going to be doing it. And you guys know I'm not Mr., we're going to the moon kind of guy, right? In fact, I'm always telling people not to buy up here. I'm always telling people not to buy at highs. Well, here we are at a potential swing low. And this swing low may be established. This may be the low, at least for a couple of months, possibly. So if I'm going to take a chance, this is where I'm doing it. And I don't mind accumulating. So I'm getting an average price. I'm not going all in at one price. So that gives the market some room to breathe. So maybe I get an opportunity to buy some more shares, right? And to accumulate my 100 shares, as long as we're staying above 450 or whatever, okay? And then once I have my shares, I can sell calls. One call, because each call represents 100 shares, right? I don't want to sell two calls, because if they call my thing away, then I'll be short 100 shares. That's not the idea. So you can't be tempted by those premiums. And well, if I sold 10 of them, I'd be making like a $1,200, right? But then you have a lot of risk exposure. The idea is to play the conservative route. So yeah, you make less money, but the probability is much better, and the risk is lower. It's very easy to hold on to. So does that make sense? You could play Bitcoin the same way. Just the options are a little trickier because you have to use something like Beto. You have to use other instruments for that. But and they don't call away your coin. That's another thing. So you have to use the stock, like the Bitcoin stock ETFs. But you could play the same game. All right. So let's that's my NASDAQ outlook, basically. So I suspect that at least for this week, we're going to see some more strength, as long as this structure stays intact. I mean, we're 469 this thing's pushing highs as we speak. We're closing on the highs. That's very bullish. It's very bullish. So, and like I said, I don't mind buying on the way. If this thing wants to work its way higher, I don't mind accumulating higher as well. In fact, that's the more conservative thing to do, rather than accumulating while this thing is pushing lows. Does that make sense? So perhaps tomorrow I'll buy some more shares. If we get a nice bullish day, if it looks bullish, I won't mind accumulating a little more. And that's the nice thing about going small, is it doesn't matter. If I buy it at a bad price and it goes against me, it's still small. Make sense? That's one of the advantages to dollar cost averaging. And if we make it back into the 480s, 490s, that's a nice trade. And then I can sell a call against it and bring in even more income. All right. So that's what I wanted to mention about that. If you have any questions about that, let me know. All right. And anyone that's new to the stream, hey, let me press this button here. All right. Make sure you like the stream, subscribe, all that. If you're on Twitter, if you're watching me on Twitter, you should come over to, I see a lot of people on Twitter. You guys should come over to YouTube. I need the help on YouTube, man. All right. So you guys on YouTube, please press the like button for me. It helps me on here. I need to be doing more than 10 people on a stream. All right. Now, let's talk about Ethereum, because I had a request here. Since I'm not doing the Trade Scanner Pro at this time, because I'm doing that at the market open, I can spend a little time here on Ethereum. So let's put Ethereum on the chart here. All right. USD. And we'll look at a MEXC chart. Where's my MEXC chart? Do I have a MEXC chart? No. It doesn't matter. I will look at Coinbase. Okay, so here's Ethereum. Are you still here? The guy that wanted, let's see, I don't know, you may not still be here. Now, everything that I said about Bitcoin pretty much will apply to Ethereum, but Ethereum also does its own thing. So let's take a quick look at that, right? Let's look at the bigger picture. Ethereum has been kind of, I guess you could say, relatively weak to Bitcoin. Here's Ethereum. Looks very similar to the NASDAQ, does it not? Except we're missing the bullish pin bar, right? Look at that. You see that? Hey, Jimmy. So you see that though? So we have this low, and we're making this lower low, but this is likely to be a failed low. Now, of course, you're going to need Bitcoin to really do its thing here. Ethereum is relatively weak. It should be doing better than this. But the thing is, it's still in an attractive location for a long. This is a weekly signal, by the way. Wow. That was a weekly long on the Trade Scanner Pro. Look at this one. Wow. Those are big moves. So, I mean, this would be great to get a Trade Scanner Pro signal on your weekly chart here. That would be great. The risk, of course, is enormous when you're taking a weekly signal. It looks like Ethereum is just a bit, yeah. Yeah. So again, these things are connected to the NASDAQ, I guess because of the tech relationship. So you want to see this thing, first of all, with something like Ethereum, if you're looking to buy this thing, even as an investment, right? These are investment levels, by the way. These aren't just swing trade levels. These are attractive for some investment. This is where you would start at least. But if you want to be more conservative about it, what you can do is, for one, wait until this thing turns, get some bullish confirmation. We have a great location, but no confirmation. So you can handle this a couple of ways. You could buy very small, some small bites. That won't hurt you if it goes lower, but at least you're accumulating a little something, just like I'm doing with the Qs, something like that. Again, it's Ethereum. Is it going to go to zero? Probably not. Okay. So, but you do have to respect the risk. So you don't want to overdo it. You have to look at how much money is in your account, how much you're willing to risk. That's a key factor. I can't really tell you how much to risk, but if you're going to take a chance, this would be a good place to do it. Just realize it can go lower, right? So you have a couple of ways. Like I said, you can accumulate small and then continue to accumulate when this thing gives you the confirmation, which should look something like this, right? Maybe you get an outside bar. Maybe you get a bullish pin bar. You get something like that NASDAQ look that I just showed you. Something like that. That would be beautiful here. That's what you want to see, right? And maybe perhaps you add on that, or you get an inside bar after that, and then that inside bar breaks. That would be another add. You can add, and that's that. In that situation, you're putting on more as the market's going in your favor, which is the more conservative thing to do. You're not going to get the best price, but at least momentum is going your way. So if you're going to do it, though, if you're going to start, this would be a good place to start the position, is right at these prices around now, if you're going to do that, right? Or wait for confirmation. You can also work on, this is a weekly, by the way. This is a weekly chart. Let's go to the daily chart, right? The daily chart just looks horrible, but great place to put on a small position. All right? Makes sense? And for something like this, again, if this thing holds, you got yourself a double bottom here, right? You get yourself a nice double bottom. That's a really nice place for Ethereum. I may buy some there. But again, it's just repeat of the NASDAQ. It's the same idea. And it's the same. It's basically, if I bought Ethereum and I have that NASDAQ trade, it's essentially the same trade. So I'm just taking on more risk on the same trade idea. Does that make sense? It really doesn't matter. I can just add more NASDAQ. But I do like this Ethereum situation. That is nice because it hasn't made its move at all. Also, on that same token, excuse me, since it's relatively weak, if Bitcoin fails where it is right now, this thing is going to break, right? So you have to keep that in mind. But that break could be another buying opportunity as well. It just depends on how much risk you can take. Now, what you want to see ideally is this lower high. You want to see this broken. That's a form of confirmation, right? If you see this, that means, okay, we may be getting a bullish leg, a bullish structure, which means in that scenario, you can continue to add or, hold on to what you have and start looking for profit objectives, right? Profit objectives in a situation like this, you could do the 50% of this leg right here, right? This entire move, 50% would be that, something like that, which is half the move. When I'm talking about this, right? Half of that move, this would be a good profit objective right here, a very high probability profit objective, because a lot of times these things will retest their 50% point. Or you can be more aggressive and look for the high. But that's going to require a big move out of Bitcoin as well. That's a very significant high. Look at that. That's a pretty serious high. So a lot of people are probably going to sell before it gets there. Right? So those will at least be some ideas for a profit objective. So keep this in mind. Take notes. These are good prices. Okay? Now, if it breaks lower, how much lower can it go? Where is our next support on this thing, you ask? I'm glad you asked. So I'm back on the weekly chart. We have support, right around this, right where we are. Let's see. The next area would be around here, which is what? What is that? I can't see. Hold on. That would be, well, I'm going to have to look. 1584. So the 1600 area. That would be the next support. So how do you use that? That could be another accumulation place. Like let's just say you bought, I don't know, an eighth of a coin or a quarter of a coin now. Maybe you bought a full coin or a half a coin. That 1500, 1600 area would be a place to add. But again, you're cost averaging while it's going against you, which is a riskier thing. If you want to be more conservative, again, the choice is yours. You wait until this thing confirms, gives you some sort of bullish leg or at least a break of this lower high, and at least you're buying now while this thing is moving your way. Kind of like this situation here, right? Broke those lower highs, and then this thing was moving for a while there. Was that the election? Yeah, this was the election. This was the election move right here, right? Everything went nuts. So that was just nothing but bullish. Okay, and if you were in some of that and you got to ride some of that move, great. You're not going to get the top, but we could have talked about some, there was structure in place where you could have figured out some profit points, profit objectives based on the previous structure. So we have a similar situation here again. So if you're going to buy Ethereum, if you're interested, this is a good place for swing trades and investing. All right, makes sense, you guys? UTXO, Ethereum is the one foundation, but the Q100, right? Well, right. Well, the Qs, again, if you're into the stocks, it's hard to go wrong with the Qs when you're buying the top 100 tech stocks in the world. Google, is Google going to zero? Probably not. Is Amazon going to zero? Probably not. Right? I mean, that's what you're buying when you're buying the Qs. So as an investment product, as an investment vehicle, I feel much more comfortable dollar cost averaging into the Qs. Compared to Ethereum, the Qs is certainly a more conservative choice. Okay, so you guys have to decide. So I kind of gave you some ideas to work with here. All right, you guys have to decide. Again, don't forget you can use Bitcoin as a guide as well. Right, we would go to BTC, USD. You could use this as a guide for your levels and for your expectations. Ethereum is sitting on that low while Bitcoin is not. So Bitcoin is the stronger one. If Bitcoin can get its act together and start moving, interesting. Look, there's a short signal in play on Bitcoin on the daily time frame. Look at that. Look what the profit objective is. Look at that. I don't use a trade scanner pro for the daily time frame, but it's interesting to look at. And the reason why I don't use it is because the risk is just too high for me. Like I'm not going to take 6,800 points worth of risk. I'm not going to do that. So I usually don't look at the trades on the daily time frame. But hey, if that's you could always reduce your size. it's useful in that sense. Anyway, does that make sense, you guys? Does that make sense? So we covered a lot of things here. Any questions? Did I miss anyone's question? Sometimes I miss the questions. I think I got everyone's question. So, so it's an interesting situation. We have interesting opportunities going on. Just watch out for the surprise items like the tariff stuff and all that drama. And lower prices, whether it's a NASDAQ, Bitcoin, Ethereum, could be a nice, these could be the lows for the year possibly. So why wouldn't you want to be in on the lows of the year? Remember, when you're playing this game, you have to be willing to take risk and you have to be able to step in front of things sometimes, right? When you're in situations like this, where you don't want to be aggressive is when the market is pushing highs, right? That's why I become very risk adverse and I tell people, be careful here, be careful. Now, this is where you want to be more risk friendly and be like, all right, we're pushing lows. This is where people are getting banged out. People that were buying the highs, this is where they bang it out. This is where you get your sale. The reason why people hesitate here, why? Is because of all the news that they're consuming. Oh, I don't know. I should wait. I should wait until the news gets better. By the time it gets better, you're not going to get these prices. So you have to step in front just responsibly. Because again, if you use too much leverage, these markets can go lower and you could find yourself in trouble. So you want to make sure you're working relative to the size of your account. You don't want to take a bite that's too big. Like if you only have a $5,000 account, you probably shouldn't be messing around with the Qs because they're going to be too expensive. But you could do options. Also, you have the PDT rule. That's another problem with the Qs. You need at least $25,000, but you can get around that as long as you're not taking too many trades. Because even if you do the options, you could do straight call options, which I'm not going to get into all the details on that. But you could buy call options, which is a much cheaper way to get exposure to the Qs. But the thing is, you're fighting time. Time is working against you. Like there's a few cons, pros and cons to it. But the thing is, as long as you don't put on trades every day, you could get around the PDT rule. Because I think you have only 3 trades. You could do like a week. I forget the exact details. But anyway, things you need to be aware of. All right. Any questions before I wrap this up here? So I'm wrapping up a little early because, again, we're not doing Trade Scanner Pro. Remember, I'm streaming now at the market open 3 days a week. I just started that. So I was on earlier today. You can watch the stream on my YouTube channel. You can watch how that played out. I will be again on Wednesday. I will be on at 9:30. Hopefully I could start on time. I always have a problem with that. But hopefully I can start on time. And we'll see what kind of trades we can get out of the Trade Scanner Pro. Again, we'll evaluate the situation and see what makes the most sense. And we will recall the stuff that I went over today, because if we're in bull mode, then we'll be looking for longs. All right, we'll be looking for trend continuation patterns. Make sense? Any questions? All right, you guys, so you know where to find me. You can email me at mark@markpremarkets.com. You can send me a message here on TradingView. It takes me a little while to get to those sometimes. If, by the way, I send you a message first, if I initiate a message, it's a scammer. It's not me. I would never initiate a message or ask you for money like that. I would not do that. Neither would Stian or Alex. So if you get messages from us, it's a scammer. Please block the person, report the person. Please don't get scammed. All right, you guys, so I'll leave you with that. So again, thank you for watching. I hope you learned something today from either session, and we'll continue this on Wednesday. So enjoy the rest of your day, the rest of your evening, wherever you are in the world, and thank you so much for watching.